Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 290 of the Juicebox Podcast. Today's show is sponsored by Omnipod, Dexcom, and Dancing for Diabetes. And I've entitled it Theoretical Ninja. I want you to keep in mind that I could have called this episode Where's Walter? Honeymoon on the Ski Slopes. Canadian Grizzly. Levon wants to go to Venus. There were just too many options. But in the end, this episode is with the mother of a child who's been diagnosed for a year, who is still heavily in the honeymoon period. Remind yourself as you're listening, this episode is probably really called One Long Canadian Honeymoon on the Ski Slopes, but that I loved the idea of Theoretical Ninja while I was listening. Remember this as well, that this episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Omnipod, and that you can get a free, no-obligation demo of the Omnipod by going to myomnipod.com/juicebox or clicking on the links in your show notes or at juiceboxpodcast.com. Remember, too, that the episode is sponsored by Dexcom, and go to dexcom.com/juicebox to get your G6 continuous glucose monitor right away today. There's probably enough time to get it for you by New Year. Christmas? I don't know. Get started as fast as you can. And after all that's done, and you've listened to the goodness that is the Juicebox Podcast, roll back around to dancing4diabetes.com. Check out what they're doing. That's dancing4diabetes.com. Is now a bad time? We could reschedule if you need to.
Pardon me?
Do you need to reschedule, or am I just a minute early for you?
No, I'm just walking. I work at a ski area, so I'm walking over to the main lodge where it's a bit quieter.
Oh, cool. Why don't you go? Do you want to? I can give you a couple minutes, and you got to get a headset on and everything. I'll call you back.
Yeah, that would be great, actually. Do you want to give me maybe 15 minutes, and I'll go get my... I just have earphones. Is that going to work on my iPhone?
Are they wired with a mic in the wire?
Yes.
Yeah, it should be good.
Okay.
Tell me how long you need.
Just like 15 minutes?
15. Okay, I'll be back. Quick reminder here, if you're looking for Juicebox Podcast merchandise for the holidays, you're probably right up on when you need to order. So don't delay, or just resolve yourself to the fact that it's not coming for Christmas. But remember that the prices are significantly lower because of some improvements that the company I use has made. So shirts are the same, prices are lower. Also, if I could just get you to remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise, and to always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan, I'd really appreciate it.
Just because I listen to you on the way to work every morning, so I'm like, oh, now I'm speaking to him. You're like a celebrity.
That happens around here a lot, and so it gives my wife a lot of opportunity to laugh at me.
Yeah. That's great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I wasn't sure. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're crystal clear.
My name is Veronica Whitney Crosland, and I live in Canmore, Alberta, Canada. And I am a mother of Walter Crosland, who has type 1 diabetes.
Nice. Are you a native? Are you born in Canada?
Yes, I'm born in Canada.
Nice. Okay, so Walter...
And I don't live in an igloo.
You don't? Why not?
Although it was minus 30 here about 3 weeks ago, so it felt like I was living in an igloo.
Yeah, so you can try to make fun of me if you want, but,
Yeah.
minus 30 is not where people live, just so you know. That's not a real temperature.
It's much warmer now. Like, it was only minus 5 coming to work this morning, and it'll probably be plus 5 this afternoon.
You really should move. You could get a whole different perspective on what life is like. The other day, I was outside. It was 50 degrees, but there was a breeze. And around here, that's very cold still. So Everyone's outside. My fingers are cold. I can't get warm. What are we going to do? And I'm like, I know this is a disaster. Big jackets. I'm assuming at 50 degrees with a breeze, you might be in shorts by then.
Oh, yeah. We were in shirts off and in shorts. The kids had shirts off and in shorts at the cabin this weekend, canoeing in about 2.5, 3 meters of water. That was like the lake was frozen, but there was the shore is open about 3 meters, and they all had their shirts off and they were canoeing around.
In my life, and many people listening, you're certifiably insane and could be locked up. but I understand. Different situation. A couple of quick questions. Have you ever had to run from a bear?
Yes.
All right. Well, tell me about that before we get started.
A mother grizzly bear with her cubs, actually.
So now, do you take stock in the old joke, you don't have to be faster than the bear, just one of your friends?
It's so true. I was with a couple other people, and I would have pushed them in front of me. No, I wouldn't have. I work at a ski area.
Okay.
At a ski resort. So in Lake Louise, Alberta, which is in the Rocky Mountains. And we've got a big percentage of grizzly bears that come and graze on the ski hill in the summertime because it's just prime habitat. And so we have a resident female that comes back every year with her cubs, typically every year. She didn't come back last year, but she was here the year before, and we're hoping she comes back again this year. But she's really curious. So if you're not within the bear fence, which is to keep people in, it's an electrified bear fence. If we're working outside the bear fence, you've got to be really careful. And we did come across her one day where she didn't chase us, but she was following us. And so out of curiosity, so we had to get a vehicle to come up and actually drive onto the hill and come and pick us up.
Yeah, everything you just said is absolutely insane.
It was scary.
Instead of being thrown under the bus, you could throw your friends under a bear. And can you imagine in that moment, you just turn back, you're like, Billy, I'm so sorry, and just shove him over and then just keep running. Anyway, bear attacks are probably really horrible and something we don't want to talk about.
And they're pretty rare.
Yeah,
they're pretty rare.
Of course they are. It's, it's sort of like, shark attacks, right? Like they happen once and everybody's like, see, sharks evil.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you. It's just the outcome of the bear attack that makes it horrible. It's not like the bear gets bored in the middle of, pummeling you and it's like, all right, you don't look like you're a risk anymore. I can walk away now. Yeah.
Oh no, that doesn't happen. Right. They don't walk away. Yeah. They finish you off.
Yeah. There we go. Everything is this is so different. I like this so much. You know what? I'm wondering how many people in America heard you say that you were in Canada and in the Rocky Mountains and thought, no, the Rocky Mountains are in America. That doesn't.
I'm in Banff National Park.
No kidding. That's so cool. How long have you worked at in like that kind of work?
I've actually worked here for about 2 years. We moved from Calgary, which is the city to the east of us. It's a large city. I was doing environmental consulting there for about 9 years. And then this job came up about 2 years ago to work for the ski area doing their environmental work.
Now, see, I know Calgary because the Olympics were in Calgary in my lifetime. So
yes,
can you believe that's my entire understanding of Calgary? And plus the Flames. That's all I know. Right.
And well, I'm pretty impressed you know the Flames.
Seriously?
Wow.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
You gotta love hockey. Okay. So let's figure this out. You are married, I assume.
Yes, I'm married and I have 2 kids. I've got Walter, who's 6, and Levon, who's 4. And my husband's name is Ward.
What's your husband's name?
Ward, W-A-R-D.
Okay, so we've got Ward like Ward Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver. That I have.
Yeah.
Walter makes me think of Walter O'Reilly from MASH. Now, Levon, from the Elton John song?
Well, we didn't know there was actually an Elton song that was Levon. It was from, the band and the drummer of the band is named Levon Helm.
I know that, yes. I know a lot.
And my husband really likes the band. I didn't even really know about them. And so, but then after we named Levon, Ward's parents and everybody was like, oh, the Elton John song. And
you were like,
no, not quite, but whatever.
My favorite Elton John song It's absolutely my favorite Elton John song. Anyway.
Leave on?
It is. Yeah, it really is.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
So-
it's pretty, I mean, when you listen to the words, we were, it's quite religious, but it's a great song. So either Elton John song or Leave on Helm.
Well, Veronica, let me tell you something. The joy of being me is that I don't know the words to any of the songs that I listen to. We were driving somewhere the other day, and my wife and I were kind of like singing along with the radio, and this song stopped, and I was like, I love that song. And she goes, you don't know one of the words. Not one. She's like, you just mumbled through it. I'm like, I know, but isn't it great? And she's like, how can you not know what? It's a classic rock song. It's been around our whole life. And I was like, I don't know. My brain does not retain stuff like that. So I don't know what Levon's about. It's just my favorite Elton John song.
I like it too. It's a good song.
So all right. So Walter is born 6 years ago. When is he diagnosed with type 1?
He was diagnosed in February 2018, so February 13th, so just over a year ago.
Wow. Okay. So you're just right up on a year now.
Yeah.
Can I ask so I know you have a slightly different health system. Was a pump made? Like, did someone say here's an insulin pump, or did they say here's a pen, or how did they start with insulin with you? Dancing for Diabetes has been spreading awareness about type 1 diabetes through the art of dance since 2000. They create and participate in a variety of events and initiatives to educate the community about the realities of living with type 1. They also raise funds to assist in finding a cure for those of you living with the daily reality of type 1 diabetes. They also offer a supportive community and many interactive programs. They're just such a creative resource designed to empower the people living with type 1 diabetes to live healthy, active lifestyles. Check them out. dancing4diabetes.com.
They said, here are the pens in the hospital. So we got diagnosed. We went in and they said, here are the pens. I didn't know anything about type 1 diabetes at all. And so, they just said, here are the pens. I didn't know there were pumps. I didn't know there was anything such as the Dexcom. So we started with pumps in the hospital and finger pokes.
Wow. And how long are you still doing that way now?
No. And so I started listening to a podcast, and I can't remember what it was.
It doesn't matter. This is really the only podcast, so don't worry about that.
Exactly. Well, and he I listened to him. He was an Australian man, and he had about 10 podcasts, and he recommended your podcast.
Oh, well, then in that case, his podcast is fantastic. Then I didn't realize, see what I was doing there, but now I misunderstood. Best podcast in Australia, probably. Right, there we go.
And so then I went straight to your podcast. And this was within within about a month or two of being diagnosed, and started listening to your podcast right away. And then within a couple of months, ordered the Dexcom.
Okay. Oh, that's great. So you got going right away. I have to give Arden a thing here. Hold on a second. Temp basal.
Okay.
Increase. Temp basal increase.
I'm going to try to find his podcast because I do want to. Can't believe I can't see it. Where's my library? Here we go.
Arden would love it if I told you all that I think her period's coming in a week, so her blood sugar's getting her
lady time, which everybody gave you trouble about.
Too much trouble. Honestly, I didn't deserve it. So.
When you say that, I would laugh so hard.
Well,
Podomatic.
Podomatic?
Podomatic
that,
Guy.
Is that a diabetes podcast?
Yeah, his name is Guy. Anyway, Podomatic. He doesn't do them anymore. It looks like, they ended in 2016 or something, but Podomatic. Okay. Anyway, he recommended listening to your podcast.
Well, since his podcast is not available any longer, then I would recommend that Guy knows what he's talking about. I just don't want to lose I don't want to lose downloads. It's just such a
He does. No. His is terminated.
Okay,
yours is the only one.
So we can talk about his because it doesn't exist anymore.
I think. I mean, I can't find any more.
But for all of you listening, I would prefer it if this was your only diabetes podcast. That's all I'm saying. Anyway. Okay, so it's amazing. So you find a podcast that leads you to another podcast that teaches you about a glucose monitor.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy because like, what's a glucose monitor?
Right, exactly. And so a year ago, what was that in Canada? You're G5 still, right?
We're still G5, yeah. And we're still G5 today, even though it's been approved through the FDA. We're still waiting for them to get the product out.
Yeah, it takes a while. I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll make the switch to G6 when you can?
Right away,
Oh,
as
cool.
soon as we can.
There you go.
Yes. Yes. And it's been amazing.
Tell me a little bit more. How long did you have without a glucose monitor before you had one?
I don't know exactly, but probably so February, March, April, May, June, maybe 4 months.
Okay. And what's
it looks like it looks like we went on in June, maybe. I've kept notes, so I'm thinking we went on to it in June.
You kept notes. That's delightful. You don't need the notes. Throw them away. This thing moves too fast for notes. So what do you notice the biggest shift between having one and not having one? Where do you think the benefit really lies?
Oh, just in being able to continuously watch him at school and at home and at night. I mean, just having that real-time data for me is so key. I mean, when we take the Dexcom off, sometimes if we haven't ordered it in time, we have a day lag or something before it arrives. Yeah. And it's a little bit nerve-wracking to just not know what's happening with him at school. So, and the teachers are doing finger pokes, but it's still not real time.
Yeah. So your biggest concern right now still is it's more like safety and security. The idea of like you want to know before he falls, before his blood sugar starts dropping.
Yes, yeah. And part of that is because he's only on 1.5 units of Levemir a day.
Oh, no kidding. So how much does he weigh? Can I guess 60? No,
yeah, like I take him to the doctor every 3 months. Like he weighs like a normal 6-year-old. I think he weighs over 50 pounds, 56, like almost 60 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well,
yes. And when we were diagnosed, he was on Humulin and Humalog, so long-lasting and fast-acting. And he started at like 9 units of Humulin and like 3.5 or something of Humalog. And then so over a course of 5 months, we went down and down and down and down and down to by the time in July, I think we were at 1 unit of Levemir.
Wow. So his needs have really dropped. Is he still honeymooning then, do you imagine?
They think he's still honeymooning, yeah. but it's been over a year now, and so it's a bit of a it happens at the Children's Hospital. They say it does happen. It's just they don't see it very often, honeymooning this long.
Yeah, I've been watching a little girl's blood sugar on my Dexcom for a while, helping her mom, and she's honeymooning and doesn't even use a background insulin. And when she's not eating, her blood sugar is perfect. And then
that happened to us on the weekend.
Yeah, the minute she eats it, it shoots up, and they're getting a pump today. Actually, wow, today. And they're going to get an Omnipod today, and she's going to just do like the tiniest basal rates or basals off and then back on a little bit to try to
like micro dosing.
Just really turn it down all the way and use it just for bolusing. And then I think the plan might be, we're going to kind of do this together, but I think the plan might be that prior to a meal, she's going to put the basal insulin on so that she's got basal and bolus through kind of the life of the meal. And then once the meal's over, the basal will go away until the honeymoon ends. But it's very unpredictable, and it makes using the insulin difficult and scarier, you know?
Yeah. Well, so I've applied through the hospital for the Omnipod. I did get an Omnipod trial, which was great. We got the little pump, we got ordered. So in Canada, if we go through the hospital and just go through the hoops, then the government pays for the Omnipod. So we'll get it in May.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to get him on the pump so that we can do those tiny little, I think it would be 0.5 units that would drip throughout the day.
Right.
And then if he did have a high carb meal, we could put in the fast acting.
Yeah. Oh no, there's a way to use a pump effectively through a honeymoon period for sure.
I contacted Jenny Smith's consulting company in the States.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and so I think I'll I'd like to work with her when we get the pump.
Cool.
Or you.
No.
You're free.
Yeah, right. You can just email me questions and tell me to answer them on the podcast, and it'll be a very similar situation.
Yeah.
Jenny's been helping me with the Diabetes Pro Tip series, and she's really terrific. So you couldn't go wrong. She's at Integrated Diabetes Services. So I think it's integrateddiabetes.com. You can find her at. Cool. I would love to know if you end up doing that and how it works out. That'd be great because she's really spectacular.
Yeah, because I think we'll be able to manage him better. I mean, this weekend he was he hasn't been sick for this whole time, but he got a little bit of a stomach bug on Saturday, so he wasn't eating all morning Saturday into late Saturday evening. So we actually didn't give him any insulin because he was just sort of riding it out at like 4.3 in Canada. I'm not sure what that is in the States.
We could figure it out, but it's more fun to make people do it while they're driving. So you guys figure it out on your own. Actually, someone asked me the other day if I could make a conversion chart that they could download. I thought, all right, well, I'll put that
there's
on my
one.
list.
They're online.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want one with the podcast like logo?
Yes.
To make it more fun, right? So
I keep feeling I should print it out and laminate it because when I'm listening to your show when I'm driving, I can just look at it.
Wouldn't that be just the end of? Well, I mean, you could write it on your notes somewhere too. When Walter was diagnosed, and I'm assuming it came out of the blue. Do you have any other family members who have type 1, or in hindsight now?
My cousin's son, she's in the UK. He has type 1, so that's all that we know of right now.
Okay.
So my cousin's son on my mom's side, so a bit removed, but I do have hypothyroidism, and so that's an autoimmune. So maybe there's a correlation there. I don't know, but in terms of type 1, it's just my cousin's son.
No, I think that autoimmune diseases definitely run in family lines, and you can see them. I've mentioned this here before, but on my wife's side of the family, the females all seem to have a different autoimmune disease. No, it doesn't repeat ever with anybody, except I guess now for Arden, because my wife has hypothyroidism, and so does Arden now. So I guess Arden got 2, so she's catching up with the other ones. But the mother had grandmother. Let me think. Grandmother had, I guess, celiac, and and then some of them have like an immune thing where they just kind of get sick a lot, and so everybody's got a little touch of something. Arden just got the diabetes.
And celiac, I think I had Walter. Because I was not convinced that he didn't have diabetes, but just was wondering why this sort of honeymoon stage was going on for so long. I asked the hospital to run more blood work. So they ran all of those like C-peptide and GAD65, and I think they did the check for celiac, but they all did come back positive. So
yeah, I had that moment when Arden didn't need insulin for 3 solid days, and I thought, oh, somebody just made a mistake. She doesn't have diabetes. It's been a big mistake, and then of course it wasn't. And but it's easy to feel that way in that moment, especially in the very beginning, because you don't understand any of it. Then all of a sudden, all this insulin they told you needed, you don't need anymore, and you're like, huh? Yeah, I hear you. How is Walter dealing with it? Is he? I mean, he's obviously bare-breasted in the river, riding a grizzly bear or something like that. So I guess he's okay a little bit. But but has it been an adjustment for him that he's handled well so far? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he has ups and downs, but overall he is really he's dealing with it really well, and he's got lots of support at the school and at home. He went from using the numbing cream to now he doesn't use the numbing cream at all. He does go through days where he says, oh, I hate diabetes. But then other days he just doesn't talk about it, for days and days. Yeah. So I do kind of worry sometimes about the psychological long-term effect of it. But I had him assessed at the Children's Hospital, and they said there's nothing wrong. He's fine. I mean, overall, he is dealing with it really well.
He'll probably be kidnapped by a beaver long before he has any psychological problems from diabetes or something like that.
Well, he gets a lot of Nerf guns and scooters as gifts, so that I spoil him. Keeps him happy.
Oh my God.
So bad.
Yeah, listen, I mean, you're in Canada. That kid needs to know how to shoot something, I would imagine. He's not going to make it, right? I mean, how's he going to live?
Yes.
Something eventually is going to try to take him, and he's going to need to be able to defend himself. I'm thinking it's a beaver, but I don't really know.
More likely a moose. It'll be a moose.
Just ride away on a moose.
Down.
Take him down. No matter what I do when I think of Canada, I think of this like amazing Twitter handle, and I've talked about it here before, but it's called like Scan BC, and it runs the most delightful crime. Like it's like, it's always like intoxicated man shows up at his ex-girlfriend's house with flowers and says he still loves her, and I'm like that's the crime, and you're like, wait, that's crime. It's really wonderful. I talked about it.
It's in BC in Canada.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think it's from the British Columbia kind of like police force. It's absolutely wonderful. Anyway, so, well, let me think. So you're doing MDI and you're doing Dexcom, and so you're a little bit like you got a little bit of a foot in the old and a little bit of a foot in the new. You're looking forward to getting a pump. Obviously you're really early on.
Yeah.
What is
but
it?
Wait,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. You say what you're gonna say.
Well, I was just going to say, and, in credit to you, though, that's why we're on this Dexcom so early. It wouldn't have been, it's not, they're not telling you at the hospital anything about this right away. Mm-hmm. So the more people that listen to your podcast, the sooner they get a hold of this podcast, the better. It's full of so much great information. I mean, my husband, he listens to it a little bit here and there, but I have to drive to work. It takes about 40 minutes each way.
Yeah. So
I have learned so much from these podcasts. I mean, I didn't even know what, bolus, basal, all the terms. I learned that all from this podcast, not from the hospitals.
And you don't have any trouble hearing it over the motor of the snowmobile at all?
No.
That's great. No, that's really cool. I mean, I'm always worried if I have the levels right. So that's fantastic. Now, Ward does not listen a lot. Why is this? Why is he doing this to me? I know this is the time of the year where you feel like there's just not enough hours in the day to do the other things that you want to do. But allow me to say that this is the perfect time of year to make the next step in your health and wellness. So don't put off going to myomnipod.com/juicebox because the holidays are here, or because it's winter, or you really just want to wait until, I don't know, the kids are out of school. Because if you're waiting for the perfect time to make this move, I don't know that a perfect time exists for someone who's scared, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to do something different, and it's going to be frightening, but it's not going to be. It's going to be amazing. So instead of thinking about, oh, there's this thing I have to do that I don't understand, and I need to wait for the exact right moment, try thinking of it differently. Flip it on its head. Think the sooner I do this, the sooner I'm going to get to this world that I want to be in. So what am I saying? Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. And right now today, all you need to do to get a free, no obligation Omnipod sent to your house, a demo that you can actually try on and wear, see for yourself. All you have to do is go to myomnipod.com/juicebox. You fill in a tiny bit of information about yourself, and Omnipod, with great glee in their heart, sends you the demo right to your home. Now that's not so hard. That's not a commitment to change. That's just taking the steps. You can do it. I promise. myomnipod.com/juicebox, where the links in your show notes were the ones that you'll find at juiceboxpodcast.com.
I think it's time. He's a stay-at-home dad like you right now. Mm-hmm. He's been a stay-at-home dad for about 3 years. And so he'd rather listen to tunes. He's listening to tunes or listening to the news. And he's really managing Walter all the time. So he's in contact with the school all day, back and forth texting, because Walter has his iPhone in a little backpack on him. And he's making all the lunches, and we're still looking at carb count. We still weigh the carbs out. Mm-hmm. So really Ward is the sole manager, and I think
that's
he's enough. Yeah. And I tell him he understands it. And I tell him a lot, but at some point I hope he gets into listening to them. It's so I've learned so much from this podcast.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's interesting that you're the one listening, but he's the one managing more. That's just a different dynamic than I've heard in the past, which is still really cool. I think however it works for you is the best way. You know?
Yeah, and then I relay things to him. I micromanage.
Oh, I see. All right. So this is just a classic married situation here.
Yeah.
Ward is just being remote controlled by you, is what you're saying.
Yes.
He's just a robot in the house with a pulse. I got you. No, I understand.
Like at 3:00 this morning, I'm like, "Did you get the yogurt? Are you getting a yogurt?" He's like, "Yeah, going down to get a yogurt or a banana."
There are times that I sit still in my house and Kelly's like, "Well, what do you think?" And I'm like, "I'm waiting for you to tell me what I think because I don't want to be wrong about this. You know,
Yeah.
Could ruin a whole afternoon."
Oh, it's so true.
So a yogurt, you'll do a yogurt in the middle of the night for a low blood sugar?
Yeah, and that's so this is the thing. So he'll typically go down at night at a classic 3:00 or 4:00 in the morning,
mm-hmm.
and it'll go to 3.8. So, but then
I'm gonna get my chart out while you're talking. Go ahead.
Okay, if he didn't have the Dexcom on, we would have done a finger poke probably at midnight or 1:00, and then we would sleep through the night.
Okay.
But when the Dexcom is on, obviously we have it set so that it alarms.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like to know, because he's only getting 1.5 units of Levemir. It's such a low amount that for him to be going low at 4 a.m, it's almost, it's over 12 hours later or whatever.
Really happen, yeah. So 3.8 is just under 70 for everybody out there.
Yeah, and so he kind of levels out at that at night. But sometimes if he goes to 3.6, then I just don't want him to go any lower. And so we'll give him a little bit of vanilla yogurt or a little bit of banana just to bring him back up a bit.
From around 65 or 3.6 to just a little higher.
Yeah.
I like that. How do you
we could...
Good.
What's that?
I was going to say, do you ever have to put insulin in for those, or do you have it worked out where you just use a little bit, just enough to bring them up?
Put insulin in for the food?
Yeah. Do you ever have to
No,
nothing like that. It's always just kind of maintenance.
Yeah, we actually, although maybe about a month or two ago, he was going a bit higher than normal, which was about 15.
Okay.
You have your chart there.
270.
And to 15, yeah. And so he would stay there and level out maybe for a couple of hours, and then he'd go down. And so at that point, we actually did start using a bit of the quick-acting insulin.
Mm-hmm.
I think we started with 0.5 units, but it only lasted for a few days because he started to have lows.
Wow. I can't believe you guys are a year into this and you're still kind of fighting with I can believe it. Don't get me wrong. I know it happens, but I just can't imagine it doesn't get a little exhausting. As crazy as it sounds, you'd kind of like his pancreas to stop making insulin the rest of the way so that you think things could be stable, right? Or more stable.
I said it this weekend. I was like, just go into full-blown diabetes so we can do this.
Stop messing around here. Yeah, because, a little bit of food that takes you to 270 that's 15, that's a big number. And you would love to know, well, let me just use some insulin here to keep that from happening. But one day you'll use the insulin and you won't need it. And one day you'll use the insulin and you do need it. So how do you make that decision?
Yeah. And so that's why I'm really excited to get onto the pump, because Walter definitely at this point doesn't want any more injections throughout the day. He now is at the point where we'll say, oh, okay, well, why don't you could have this. He might go a little bit high and he'll be like, no, I'm not going to have it. So I don't want that to happen.
Yeah,
I want him to eat whatever he wants. So as soon as, and he's not going high right now, like for breakfast this morning, he might have gone up to 8 maybe 10 at the most, but probably just 8 for half an hour, and then he goes back down and levels out.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in there. You don't want to cause a bad relationship with food, first of all, because you
Exactly.
can easily end up with an eating disorder. And he needs to eat, he needs to grow, and he needs to be healthy. So, yeah, you definitely want him hungry and eating and you bolusing, and you'll get to it.
Yeah, so as soon as we get on this pump, then we can bolus, right? That's what you're doing, bolusing for the short acting.
What you'll do, once your pump's on is you'll have your basal insulin that you need will be coming from the pump, and you can make, obviously like smaller adjustments. So if you gave a little bit of food that you thought was just going to go from, a slightly low to a little higher, and all of a sudden you started going up, you can just give him some insulin and grab it and bring it back down again.
Bring it back down. Yeah, I am actually really excited to get on the pump so that we can do that and just keep him, coasting along.
Right. Okay, let's take a break here while I read the lyrics to Levon. Levon wears his war wound like a crown. He calls his child Jesus because he likes the name. And he sends him to the finest schools in town. See, you said it was religious, and I don't know that. Hold on, but I see more God in here. Levon likes his money. He makes a lot, they say, spends his days counting in a garage by the motorway. Now, hold on. He was born a pauper to a pawn on a Christmas day. When the New York Times said God is dead and the war's begun, Alvin Tostig has a son today. Do you wonder, like me, who Alvin Tostig is? Is that?
Yes.
All right, hold on. Let's figure that out real quick. I got a message last night, and it was from a person who said, I listen to your ads. I don't listen to the ads on anything, but I listen to ads on your show, and please sing more. And I promised her I'd sing more. So hold on a second. I don't know that that's going to happen now live with you here. But, all right, well, so there's no real, I don't think Alvin Tostig is a real, all right, I don't think he's a real person. If he is something.
Oh, okay, he's made up.
All right, and he shall be Levon, he shall be a good man, he shall be Levon in a tradition with a family plan, and shall be Levon, and there's a lot of repetition here. I guess that's what music is. He shall be a good man, Levon. Levon sells cartoon balloons in town. His family business thrives. Jesus blows up balloons all day. But who's Jesus? Wait a minute. He calls his child. Levon's child is Jesus.
Yes.
All right. So we got the kid blowing up the balloons? That's child labor. There's issues there.
Child labor.
Sits on a porch, swings, watching them fly. This song goes on forever.
It is Elton John.
Yeah. Jesus wants to go to Venus. That's sexual, I'm assuming. Hold on. When Levon slowly dies, he's born. All right, I can't do the rest of it. Anyway, Levon, the lyrics don't make you feel good about it, but I'm going to tell you right now, my favorite Elton John song.
You love the tune.
I really do.
So when people played that for us after we had named our son Levon, it was quite a shock. It was quite a shock.
We should have named him something else.
Yes. We were like, what?
Even listen, Levon Helm it's still a... that's a reach. I'm gonna say he's such an old man now.
Yes.
Oh no, he died in 2012. That's why he looks so old. Never mind.
I think Levon Helm might have been the only. Was he the only American or was he the only Canadian? I can't remember in the band. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not really into music. My husband's more into music.
He was in American music.
He's the only American one.
He's the only American one. What do you think do you have a band song that is your favorite?
No, I could not name a band song, any of their songs. I might, if I heard it, I might recognize it, but I doubt it.
All right, I'm looking, and I have to be honest, I feel like I know the band. At the same time, I don't know. Oh, Up on Cripple Creek. I guess that's the one I was thinking of. All right. I'm not singing that either. I'm letting down the person that contacted me about this. I have a couple serious questions for you.
Okay.
I get a lot of questions from people about skiing with diabetes. Like seriously, a lot of them. So, yeah, how do you manage all the kind of remoteness, the cold, and the fact that you're at rest, and then all of a sudden, vigorously your body's working, and then you're at rest. There's adrenaline. Like, how are you finding that so far? Hey, let's talk about the Dexcom G6 by talking about Arden's last 12 hours of blood sugars. So all the way back before she went to bed last night, her blood sugar kind of got down to 70 and she was hungry. So she had this protein bar thing with like nuts in it. And I don't exactly know what was in there. There's peanut butter or something. So she eats this bar. And I think to myself, maybe she's not going to need as much insulin as I think. So we wait a little bit. But then we see a rise, right? All of a sudden this 70 turns into 88, turns into 97, 105. Ooh, we put in some insulin. Now, I'm not going to lie. Should have put the insulin in sooner. And her blood sugar goes all the way to 170 before it comes right back down again to 130, blah, blah, blah. And an hour and a half later, her blood sugar is 121. By the time her insulin finishes up, her blood sugar is 82. And then all overnight, 82, 85, 95, 109, back to 95, 86. Hear what I'm saying? 100. And how do we get to sleep like that? How does Arden's blood sugar get to be like that? Because, well, a number of reasons. Think about it. She's got the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor. We start with a lower blood sugar at bedtime that a lot of you might think, well, I'm going to feed that and that's it. You know, I'll test hours later, maybe. But I was able to give her the food, see the rise, put in the insulin, bring the rise back down, not bring it down too far, and then let Arden stay stable all night long because of the information that I get back from the Dexcom G6. And you can find out more about it at dexcom.com/juicebox. The tools that make all of this possible are within your grasp.
So we ski every weekend and sometimes twice on the weekends. And then Walter skis during spring break. So he's got the Dexcom. We're always with him. He doesn't go. We haven't put him. He was in ski lessons last year before he had diabetes, but this year we've just kept him with us because I can't really drop him off with a 20-year-old ski instructor for the day and just be like, okay, see ya, manage the diabetes. So we don't do that. But he skis with us. He's got his Dexcom. He has an iPhone that we keep inside his coat so it stays warm. We had some issues at the beginning of this season where we were keeping it on an outside pocket and it would just die because it's cold. So it's on the inside pocket. And then we really just monitor him throughout the day and top him up with food. He goes low. He'll go low skiing. Any kind of activity like scootering or especially skiing, he will ride pretty low. So we always just have a backpack with sandwiches and crackers, and we have some juice with us. We have gummy bears with us, and we just kind of top him up throughout the day. He can have French fries at the ski hill on a ski day because he won't go high from the fries. So right now, that's how we're managing it. And then what happens, I find, is a day or two after skiing, he's low. He doesn't go low, but he rides. His levels are much lower.
That's interesting because I may have guessed that, and at the same time, it doesn't make me feel like that makes any sense. Like days later is just such an odd thing. But I definitely hear what you're saying, Arden. You know, if she's really active one day, the next day you're pretty confident it's going to be like a lower like blood sugar day, and exercise does help keep your blood sugar down. So, you know.
Yeah, if he's on a trampoline.
The trampolines yeah.
It's within minutes.
They ought to make insulin out of trampolines because that's how well it works. It's so fast acting. It's amazing, you know, for most people.
And I'm expecting this is all going to change when he goes into full-blown diabetes. So, yeah.
Had you not mentioned the trampoline, what I was going to say next is that's all going to shift as soon as, you know, his pancreas gives up the rest of the way, I guess. But there is some good there, you know, so your experience with skiing is still it's minimal, to be perfectly honest. Like you're in a situation,
it's minimal.
Yeah, you can feed the lows that come from the activity and not really even have to worry about the insulin, which I'm assuming will not be the same for most people. But you did say some things that are definitely worth remembering. That some of this technology can't be out in the freezing cold forever. And so you said the Dexcom receiver or his phone, which was it that gave up? in the cold?
It's the phone.
The phone. So it has to go more in the inner pocket, closer to you, so it can stay warm, somewhere where you're not going to fall on it, obviously, and you still have access to it.
Yeah. And we've got it in a case, and it's in his pocket, inside, closer to his body. Sometimes my husband will have the phone on himself, but I find that even if Walter gets a little too far away, then it doesn't transmit. So he's got it on an inside pocket in his coat now.
Yeah, it's only Bluetooth distance, just Bluetooth distance. Whatever your phone can, wherever you'd lose your headphones walking away from them, if you had Bluetooth headphones, that's as far as you
can go. Okay.
Can go. Yeah.
I think for us right now, the doctors just keep saying that it's easier right now. It's going to get much harder.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and so let me talk about that for a second. It doesn't get harder. It gets more involved. And you'll swap, because I think what you're doing sounds hard. So maybe that'll make you feel better. Like the unpredictability of what's happening to you being in a honeymoon situation still, to me, sounds harder. At least I know with Arden, this happens and then that happens. If this is going to happen, then I need to do this. There's no moment when, she doesn't need insulin, or, there's no moment where Arden could just eat French fries because she's being active. That doesn't exist anymore. So there's a consistency that's going to come after this part for you. And I do prefer, I like to say this about diabetes. I don't think it ever gets easier, but I think you get so much better at it that it sort of starts feeling easy.
And that's how I feel listening to this podcast and actually going through this honeymoon at a slower pace. Mm-hmm. I've been able to learn a lot, and I don't know. I feel like I'm learning so much now before we get to a year from now. Yeah. Maybe I'll know. I mean, I honestly, I didn't even know what bolus meant or basal.
Right. No, I didn't either. When it all started for me, I didn't. But what you're making me think is that what you're basically describing is, the ability for someone to come along and say, hey, listen, here's some information about type 1 diabetes. You don't have it, but you will next year. So take your time, learn about it, and about the time, you need it, that information is going to be all locked up in your head. You'll be like a pro before you've even had to do it. You know what I mean? Like your biggest... Yeah, you're like, I hope so. But I think, always you're not really, the one thing I'll say to you is be careful in the very beginning, because you'll be just a theoretical ninja at that point. Like, right, you haven't actually been in a fight yet. So don't go running, don't decide to pick a fight with Bruce Lee first. On day one, don't go, we're having pizza and pasta because I listened to a podcast. But you will be able to trust some of the things that you've heard, and that should be very helpful to you. Oh, I'm kind of excited for you. I'm excited too to learn about different insulins. Which one are you using? That's something that I don't. We're using Levemir, and so that's the long. Yeah, the slow acting, right? The slow acting, right? Yeah, your basal insulin, and then you're injecting Humalog, or what did you say it was? I'm sorry. Yeah, Humalog is the clear H. Yes. Okay, so when you're figuring it out. No. So when he eats a meal, you give him Humalog. No. Are you? He gets 1.5 unit of Levemir in the morning at breakfast. Okay. And that lasts him until the next day at breakfast. So there's no mealtime insulin happening yet. No, not yet. We were doing it maybe 6 weeks ago. We gave him 0.5, but then he started to have lows, and he hasn't gone up again to he'll go maybe to 10. And then and so 10 is 10. Well, he's really, and then he comes down after about half an hour. No kidding. Have you looked into any of the trials, like is TrialNet exists in Canada, I believe.
It does. I think I just called them actually last week. So we're going to get into, I phone trial net. I had a pamphlet in our binder about it. But this is why I had them do all of this blood work. And I'm going back actually next week to review the blood work with them and get a really good understanding and just really confirm that it is a honeymoon. And the endocrinologist is great. He ran all the tests and was very open to it. And then I went back in and he said, yep, he is. And he went through all of it with me. It's just a long, they're saying it's just a long honeymoon. But that's why I'd like to get involved with Jenny Smith and maybe get some information from her too.
Hey, this is going to sound crazy for a second, but what's your postal code?
T1W3C5. T1W3C5, Canmore, Alberta. Igloo Lane.
So there is, so there's just looks like one trial net. Is it in Toronto? Is that in Ontario? Is that
okay. That's in Ontario, yeah.
That's on the other side of the country, right?
Yes, yeah. Nothing in Vancouver, hey? Huh. Maybe it wasn't TrialNet that I phoned. It was a trial. Actually, it wasn't really a trial. What it was to get my son and my husband and I tested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's sometimes, I know very little about this, but sometimes there are some trials going on that when you still have, when you're still making insulin the way your son is, that, sometimes they can give you like a courses of medication to help it continue longer. And to extend that time. And I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in finding out about, but
oh, definitely.
Yeah, it might definitely be worth looking into for you, because a year later, he doesn't need fast acting insulin for food. That's kind of insane.
I know, and I think it's a bit insane. The hospital themselves, they definitely have seen it. They have said. But we go back every 3 months and I push them and I do my own research, and I'm totally open to that. And he would be a great case to look at, I think, for the hospital.
Yeah. Has anyone mentioned like LADA to you, like latent autoimmune diabetes?
Yes. I only know about it from your podcast.
Okay.
And I have asked, I think that was part of why I had all of this blood work done, was because I wanted to make sure that he didn't have LADA. I remember one of the women on your podcast, they had diagnosed her with type 1, and then it actually turned out it was LADA, and then she was just on an oral medication, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Moody, which I don't know a ton about.
Oh, no, that's the one. Modi. That's the one I had it tested for.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Not LADA, but Modi. So I'm just going to keep pushing he gets his blood done every 3 months anyway. I'm just going to keep pushing for more tests.
Yeah. No, I think you're smart to do that for sure, because this is, I guess it's not unheard of to go for a year, but it really is a little crazy. Like I said, I'm following a kid who's, in a similar situation, but they're only 6 months in basically. And when she eats, her blood sugar shoots up. So what does her blood sugar shoot up to? Oh, it would go all the way without insulin. So they're using insulin at meals, and it's, I've seen it go, like sometimes they can get ahead of it, but the longer the time passes, the harder it is to get ahead of it.
Okay.
So you can see a 200 to 250, which to you would be like 13, 14 in that space,
Okay, yeah.
And so,
like in the last 24 hours, Walter hasn't gone above, he went to 11, which is
200-ish. Yeah, right around 200.
At about, that must have been around breakfast time. Let me see here.
Well, if he's jumping...
No, it was 2 a.m., but he comes back down within 20 minutes.
That quick?
Yeah.
What did he eat for breakfast when it jumped up like that?
So for breakfast, this morning he had 2 eggs and potatoes. He loves potatoes and bacon, and he probably had 1 or 2 small mandarin oranges.
Yeah, so he had carbs, and it jumped
and
it jumped to 200.
And the oranges. I mean, oranges are pretty high.
Well, there's simple sugars in it that'll get him pretty quickly. How long was he at 11?
Well, the 11 was, I'm looking at his 24-hour rate. The 11 actually happened this morning at about 6 a.m. And so that was probably from the yogurt. And I can't, because I'm on the follow, I can't, it looks like it was maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then he went back down to 6.
Shot up, went right back down again.
Yeah. And then for breakfast, I can show you, right? So 7 a.m. this morning, we were up. For breakfast, he had potatoes, 2 eggs with cheese on it. He probably had 1 or 2 small mandarin oranges, and he had some bacon. And he didn't go at about 7:15. He was at 6, and then he went back down to about 5.5. The highest he's been is at around 8:30 when he went to school, and Ward probably gave him a little bit of banana before he got into school, just because we give him the Levemir, it starts to work, and then by 8:30 he goes low.
Yeah.
And so he was at about 7 for maybe half an hour, not even 6.
That's only like 125. Like you're talking about like 100 blood sugar back down to 90, around 120. I mean, I think my blood sugar probably goes to 120 when I eat a banana, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, I do finger pokes on myself a lot.
Right.
And sometimes I'm at 10 for 10, 15 minutes and then I go back down.
Yeah.
Like right now, he must have just had snack and he is at 8 and now she's gone back down to 7.
So he jumped to 145 but then went back to 126 pretty quickly. From 8 to 7.
Within about less than half an hour, about half an hour.
But if you didn't give him the Levemir, this wouldn't be the case. He'd get higher.
No, he would get higher without the Levemir. Okay. Yeah. So the Levemir is just keeping him. It's giving him that they're describing it as him wearing a backpack, and that we're just like holding the backpack up a little bit for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a weird. I don't like that analogy, but that's okay.
We're in Canada. They had to use this backpack.
They're like, listen, all we have is snow and moose and backpacks. And I mean, that's it, really. And beer, that's it. There's nothing left.
Yeah. Anyway, so if anybody out there who is listening to your podcast is going through this same experience, it would be interesting to hear about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're describing it the way most people describe it, to be perfectly honest. Like, I had conversations with people privately and on here, and this is what honeymooning is. It's a giant pain in the butt, but it usually doesn't last for a year. Did you, when he was diagnosed, when Walter was diagnosed, what was his blood sugar then?
It was 23 when I took him into the hospital.
430, 414, like 23. Okay, so high. What were his symptoms?
Really similar to everybody. So I had gone to London, to the UK with him for a week. So before we left, he had flu-like symptoms, or he was sick, like he had an earache, and so I went back to the doctor twice. They were like, "No, it's just the flu; it'll go away." Or then they gave me an antibiotic to take with me, so I took that with me. And then the week that I was there, he was tired. I had to push him around in a stroller in London, and he doesn't ever go in a stroller. He's 6. Yeah. And then he peed the bed a couple of times. And so at that point I was like, oh gosh. But I still wasn't like, it was in my head, it was in the back of my head, but I didn't really know enough about diabetes. So then we flew home on the flight home from the UK. So 8-hour flight. He had to go to the bathroom probably every 20 minutes, every half an hour, and he slept. And then he'd wake up and have to go to the bathroom. So then we got home and I went to work the next day and he stayed home from school. And I phoned my mom and I said, "Mom, I think he has type 1 diabetes." And she's like, no, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I only knew about it because of my cousin's son.
Right.
Then that next morning he woke up and was just like, he couldn't even, he was standing, but it was so
Yeah, he was
abnormal.
in or headed to the DKA probably.
And so I got him in the car and we went straight to the hospital and they diagnosed him right away.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So the same symptoms that most of the people you have on.
Right. Yeah,
you hear about.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I just think you're in the middle of one long honeymoon.
I know. That's what they've said.
Yeah, it sucks.
So we'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I guess the longer the better, to be perfectly honest, for his long-term health.
For long-term health, yeah.
But at the same time, for your sanity.
For my sleep patterns.
Yeah. When he was sick, the doctor didn't say maybe don't let him in a river without his shirt on. That wasn't anything. They didn't bring that up.
No.
Gotcha. You guys have a different life. Just being a little farther away from the equator has really just it changed everything about who you are. Everything you've said about outdoors, even like skiing twice a week. I thought, oh wow, I've never been skiing in my life.
Well, I've always thought, I was like, oh, Scott and Arden should come to Canmore and meet Walter and come hang out with us and go skiing. Yeah. So you're more than welcome anytime.
I have never stood on skis. Skiing to me is an invitation to die crashing into a tree. And that is not how I want to go out. I sometimes joke about, like, I don't want to die falling off a roof. Like, one of the things I pay for around my house is to have my gutters clean because I don't want the short fall to the ground being me going, I could have afforded to pay somebody to do this. And
hey, that's logical.
Right.
And
then I got a great email from a guy who has fallen off a roof in his life, and he's pretty much like, look, there's not that much time to think on your way down. I was like, oh, jeez. But yeah, I avoid a couple of things. Skiing is one of them because I am very fearful of going very fast, not being able to stop. And then the last thing I think is, oh, that tree is going to hurt my face. And then that'll be the end of it. So I realize that's probably not skiing, but.
Come in the summer then. You can ride the gondola and see the grizzly bears.
I was just going to say, you're just trying to get me up there so the bears can eat me. I know what's happening. Don't act like you don't know. I know what's going on here. All right. Listen, you guys are terrific. Just the names of your family members you have more different names in one family than... Oh,
well, wait till I tell you do you want to hear my name, my full name?
Yeah, do it. Why not?
Veronica, Winifred, Carmichael, Whitney.
Winifred? How did Winifred get in there?
That's my Nana's name.
I was going to say, that's a family name. You don't give that to a kid by mistake.
Winifred. Amazing.
Do you have other brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have an older sister.
Did they get saddled with anything or no?
Well, my brother was born in Peru, so he got Carlos Jorge. And my sister, no, she just got Michelle. Michelle Mary.
All right, so hold on. Were you born in Canada?
I was born in Canada, but grew up in Peru and Colombia my whole life. Because
your father is a drug runner?
Yes.
Is that grizzly bear full of cocaine? Is that what you're telling me?
He works in mining. He did work in mining. Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah. Oh, that's so. And so you guys were there so you've lived in warm weather, and which is better?
Yeah, I have lived in really warm weather, Colombia.
So
Peru.
What's better? What do you think is better? Pick one.
I need the cool temperatures. I have fair skin with freckles, and the heat is just.
You don't.
Got to be 60 SPF with big hats in the heat. I mean, I love the heat, but I have to be under shelter.
Under shelter. Hey, what do you take?
Sheltered.
What do you take for your hypothyroidism? You taking Synthroid?
Yeah, I take Synthroid.
Do you take anything for the T3, Cytomel or anything like that?
No.
No. How is your energy? And do you feel rested? And
yeah, it ebbs and flows. I mean, I've had to up the Synthroid.
Mm-hmm.
So and in the morning I'm tired. But I just don't know. I'm like, is that because I've just been up with Walter at 3:00 and lost an hour or two in there, or?
Yeah.
I get my blood test regularly.
Yeah, my girls watch them. I watch them struggle with the thyroid thing. Like right now, we're trying to get Arden's together. She had a problem once where her Synthroid. She went through a big growth spurt out of nowhere, and then so she didn't have enough Synthroid. I'll have to talk about this in a regular episode somewhere, like in the middle of an episode about I actually should do an episode about thyroidism, I guess.
Right. That would be interesting. Yeah. It's interesting that she got it at a young age. I didn't realize you could get hypothyroidism. Like most of my friends who get it after pregnancy.
Yeah, that's how it happened to my wife.
Yeah. So do you think Arden then got it as part of the autoimmune?
I thought you were going to ask me if I thought Arden had a baby that I wasn't aware of. You don't think when Arden was 13 she had a child and hid it from you, do you? So no, yeah, I think she's rolling the autoimmune dice and coming up craps a lot is what's happening. But so anyway, when she grew, she needed more Synthroid. It took us a couple of days to figure that out, and in those days, she could barely lift her head up. She was exhausted.
Wow.
The doctors, they sent us to a cardiologist, and I was like, no, because her blood pressure was so low. And I'm like, I think she just needs more Synthroid. So while they're all arguing and sending her to doctors, one day I just was like, here, take more.
Take double.
Yeah. And she a couple days later, she's like, I feel better. And I was like, yeah. So then I told the doctor what happened. Doctor's been great, by the way. And, but recently her Synthroid levels are good and she's just been tired. She's like, Dad, I'm always tired. She's always got muscle aches and she's tired. And, she had to stop playing softball because her shoulders and her neck are so tight that she can't kind of do it anymore. And so we just got her a T3 replacement a couple of days ago.
What's a T3 replacement? What's that?
Well, I'll save that for the other episode. But there's different hormone that your thyroid's responsible for. That Synthroid's replacing T4, but there's a T3 too. And
right, that's right.
So
yes,
we're crossing our fingers and seeing if that helps her, but we don't know yet. It's only been a few days. So.
Poor girl, because she loves softball.
Yeah, well, she hasn't done it for a while now, since October, probably she missed the fall season, and she had to go tell her coach at school that she can't play in high school right now. So she just can't. Yeah. She can't get her neck loose. She can't get her shoulders loose. It's really kind of crazy. So anyway, hopefully I'll have to do one about it. I don't know enough about it to carry the episode is my problem. I have to get somebody on that really understands it.
Does she go to acupuncture or anything?
You know what? We're getting up to trying anything. It's one of the things that's gone through my head. I think we might try a chiropractor or acupuncturist might be next.
I like acupuncture works really well for me.
Does it?
For any sort of muscle, anything, even inflammation.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna start heading out on a limb and trying a bunch of different stuff. So. Yeah, anything that works. I'm anything where I'll fall short of letting her smoke weed, I think. But I want her to be able to. Her body can't relax. Her muscles won't just relax, and you can massage them out and get them completely soft so they feel like jelly under her skin, and 5 minutes later they're stiff again. It's amazing.
Wow!
Yeah, it's really.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so. We'll figure it out, I guess. But anyway, we're past an hour, and you need to go back to work.
Okay. Yeah, I have to
tell everybody real quick. Where did you do this interview from? Are you in the ski lodge?
I'm in the ski lodge at the Lake Louise ski area in Lake Louise, Alberta.
Nice. All right. Thank you so much.
Looking outside.
I really appreciate you doing this. Hey, listen, if you can take a picture of what you're looking at right now and email it to me, I'll include it in the podcast.
Okay, I will. I'll do that. I'll definitely do that. It's really dry here. We're coming to the end of our ski season. We close May 5th, but we've had a lot of warm temperatures, so we've lost a lot of snow. We may close early, but we're one of the last ski areas that closes around here.
Okay.
Because we're at a higher elevation. But I will send you a picture.
That is so cool. All right, you avoid the bears, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. Whitney, thanks so much for coming on the podcast and sharing Walter's story, for making me think of my favorite Elton John song, for sharing with everyone what the podcast has done for you, and talking about the difficulties of a long honeymoon. Thank you also to Dexcom, Omnipod, and Dancing for Diabetes. You can go to dexcom.com/juicebox, myomnipod.com/juicebox, or dancing4diabetes.com to find out more about the wonderful sponsors. It is this time of year to be festive and charitable. Go check out the sponsors. If you cannot remember what I just said, there are links in your show notes of your podcast player and at juiceboxpodcast.com. Also at juiceboxpodcast.com, a photo of Whitney in a chairlift. Pretty beautiful. I'm not going to sing Leave On. I want to, because in my mind, in my heart, when I hear the song, it's so beautiful. And if I turn it up loud enough, I can't hear it And by it, I mean me singing. And so I feel like I'm singing it. You know the feeling of singing along with loud music where you believe that you're harmonizing along with it and that the depth of your feeling and that soulfulness is matching Elton John's as if, right? But it's just terrible. But I will tell you my favorite parts of the song lyrically so that when you go check it out, and you are going to check it out, right? You're going to go listen to Levon if you haven't, right? So it starts slow. Levon wears his war wound like a crown. I don't even know exactly, but boom. Makes some money. By the time we get to the motorway, it starts picking up. But then when he hits to the I think it's the Alvin Tostig has a son today. Kind of it goes into a different gear, and then it's a little bit of a repetition. Talks about naming the boy Levon, but then my goodness, I'm gonna just tell you the next 2/3 of the song, while Levon slowly dies, breaks my heart, right? Because I'm figuring in my mind, Levon's the father watching the son grow and want to move away as Levon's life comes to an end. Oh, it's heartbreaking. All right, so if you don't know Levon by Elton John, go check it out. Find me on Instagram or Facebook or something and tell me what the heck the song's about. And if you do know the song, go enjoy it one more time. I think about that sometimes. How many more times am I going to hear a song before I'm dead? I know that seems morbid, but I do think that. Sometimes I hear a song that I really love and I go, I wonder how many more times I'm going to hear that. So check out Levon and any of the other music that really makes you happy. Levon is on Elton John's Madman Across the Water. It's a masterpiece.